I'm Virginia Graham, author of Flirting with Finance and host of The Intelligent Property Investor. Today, I'm joined by Julianne Zammit, a senior broker at Finance on the Coast, to explore the finance side of property risk and how smart lending structures can prevent costs and mistakes down the track. So, hello, Julianne.
Hello again.
I know. So what do you think, after listening to Lachlan and Lou, what do you think about investment properties now? Has it changed any of your views?
No, I think that, like I was mentioning to Lachlan and Lou, like there are some clients, especially in New South Wales, that are buying their first property, but based on income, they can't buy in the location that they would like. So therefore, then they start looking down the investment route and looking interstate. You know, whether they're a single person or they're a family, and you know they might be living in the eastern suburbs, and they just can't afford to buy in that area. So then they start looking at maybe buying one or two properties interstate and getting a foot in the door that way.
Yeah. And so, what other of the people that you see investing in properties? What sort of properties do you think would be suitable for an investment portfolio? Like what sort of strategies have you seen people doing? Not in particular, but overall.
Often they will deal with a buyer's agent if they're buying for investment properties interstate, simply because they're going to be time poor, and especially buying interstate, you really don't advise to buy sight unseen. Mainly they would be looking at home, like a house, as opposed to an apartment or a townhouse.
And an established house.
And an established house, as opposed to buying a house and land, simply because it's something that is tangible, they can see it and they know what the rent's going to be, and it's available right now. So that's generally, and then they might, be looking to do it twice based on the borrowing capacity.
Yeah. And are these people already living in Australia?
Yes.
Yeah. So they're already living in Australia and they're just buying a couple of properties here.
Yeah, that's right. And so often if they are living in Sydney or New South Wales, but mainly Sydney, and they might be looking at an investment property, to buy here, if anything's sort of half decent in a house, you are looking at $1 million, and maybe buying interstate. Yeah, that's right. But as an investment, that might be somebody's budget, whereas as an investment, they might be thinking of another state and maybe buying two, and then they're hedging their risks. So, you've got two lots of rentals coming in and potentially two different growth markets. So,
yeah. And what about buying in properties in super with a buyer's agent?
Yeah, well, I'm seeing that as well. And obviously a financial planner and accountant are involved in that. Often they will have already set up a self-managed super fund. If not, they'd be in the process of doing that, which it would need to happen. And those do take a few weeks to get established. And then based on the advice of their financial planner, they'll be determining whether they're looking to buy one or two properties. But often they'll be buying residential, unless they're self-employed, and they might look at the option of buying a commercial property that they operate from. But it's mainly residential.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm doing one right now.
Of a residential one?
Of a residential.
Yeah. And of the people that you have now, are any of them first homeowners or not, that sort of thing, for investments? Like, are you finding people doing that rentvesting?
Look, again, it goes back to where the clients are based. Often I will do a lot of first home buyers, but based on what their borrowing capacity is and what their life, where they are in their life, as far as if they're married with kids, may determine what their, potential purchase price is. And if it's not where they want it to be, then they'll offer the idea of buying an investment property to try and get a foot in the door of real estate in Australia, and maybe looking to do that once or twice before they start to find their own property. In fact, I did have a client that did exactly that. Like 3 kids living in the eastern suburbs, couldn't afford to buy what they would really like as a home in the eastern suburbs. And so what they opted to do was they ended up buying 2 properties in Queensland in the last few years. And now they're in a position where they can actually buy the home. And so they've just recently purchased something in Sydney.
Is there any other question I should have asked you about Lachlan and Luke?
I asked them, just on the idea of why they 2 things, why they don't do property developments, because often you'll see buyers agents and,
Yes.
they're dealing with property developers, whereas what I found with Atlas, they actually I haven't seen them deal with property developers. It's mainly, established homes all around Australia, and they've obviously got business partners all around Australia that search the properties for them. But they are established homes that are in pockets that have achieved that, that substantial growth. The other thing, the question that I was curious with them, which they've answered, was why they don't look at buying or, assisting clients that are buying their very first property as an owner-occupied. And Lachlan answered that really
Yes.
well,
Yeah.
of having the 2 hats on. He feels that if you're looking to invest, you don't want that blurred by the vision of maybe I can live in that down the track.
Yes. Yeah, because it would make the decision difficult, wouldn't it?
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Thanks, Julianne. It's
My
brilliant-
pleasure.
Brilliant advice for
Yes.
anyone who wants to get their finance structure right from the beginning.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, pleasure.